Welcome to the network of Networth video podcast, having high-level conversations with high-level individuals. I'll be your host, Christopher Day. Enjoy the show. Hey out there, YouTube land. Today we'll be speaking with Fouchina Kirkendoll, two-time Amazon best-selling author, sexual abuse victim, and survivor. And today she's here to speak about overcoming obstacles and trauma in life and turning negatives into positives.
My name is Fouchina Kirkendoll, and I'm a native. Actually, I was born in Jersey City. I was raised in South Carolina, so I'm going to always claim my Southern heritage, always. I'm currently a resident, or I've been living in Georgia for now, let me see, my son will be 12 years in May. So, and it's funny how that came about, because it came about part of my testimony. Part of my testimony is I am an overcomer of childhood sexual molestation. As a result of that, it stemmed to many things I've done in my life, not so proud of, but not ashamed to talk about it. And I had told God, once he delivered me, not if, but when he delivers me out of this, I will help every and anyone that wants to be helped, to help them overcome their trauma, to help them overcome, to become from a victim to a victor to victorious, from trauma to triumph.
Beautiful.
And the only way that I can do that is to be the example. I tell people, you can't lead me anywhere if you've never walked in my shoes.
Certainly.
So I am here to serve as that. So I do that through my own podcast. I was given a podcast, Chronicles of a Favorite Woman. And through that, I interview people, or I let people share their stories, because there's power in your story. And the more you tell your story, the more you gain your power. So now I've stepped even to a whole new different level. And I am actually doing my first event, and it's called Trash Talk. And it's, based on, So it's based on a scripture, 2 Peter, 2nd chapter, 20th to 22nd verse. I'm going to paraphrase real quick. You asked me to deliver you for something. I deliver you, and you go back to what I deliver you from. What you even asked me for? You're worse off when you first do it. So it's like the dog going back to eat his vomit. I'm like, oh gosh, every time I say that, I cringe. But how many times we as people find ourselves wanting better? God puts us in a place to do better, and we get scared. So instead of just embracing the new life, we go back to what we know, which is uncomfortable and toxicity. And so that's where God is leading me now. Besides the book, besides the awards or whatever, I'm going around doing workshops, creating workshops to help people go to their next level. Because what I've learned is that my personal trauma was affecting my professional life.
Certainly. Now I
didn't know how to separate it.
Are these online events that you're hosting, or are these in-person IRL events that you're hosting?
No, actually, my first event will be in person. I like to touch and feel.
Sure.
I'm a touchy person, but I will go over to virtual, because I do realize that there are other people who can't be in the location that I'm at, but I'm being led to do it personally.
Oh, sure.
So I'm going to do that. So I have some other events that God has placed in my path, going out to the women's prison. That's one of the things that I'm working on, that workshop now.
Wonderful.
I'm also going to DJJ. I'm putting a proposal together to go with DJJ, so I can help the females out there. The platform is designed for women, but I've seen men who've gotten blessed by it. And they have literally stopped me when I see them in the street and said, I really appreciate you sharing your story, because everybody thinks that they're alone, and they're really not. We're all a hot mess.
Yes, ma'am.
We're all a hot mess.
I've got to tell you, Fouchina, that's the reason that we put together this show right here. When I started doing this, it was just it wasn't even a show. And as a matter of fact, if you'll flip through my YouTube there, you'll see that there's nothing that says the Christopher Day Show yet. That's actually a compilation of videos that I'm putting together right now. And what we've we've got 300 and some odd videos on there now that are all just clips of some of these conversations, is what it is. It's not even episodes. And really, that's what it started off being, was just high level conversations with, individuals from all over the world, really. And the
Mm-hmm.
idea was to be able to showcase real life to other humans. I personally do a lot of live streaming, throughout the day, just in the office, just so that the world understands what it looks like to be a business owner of multiple businesses and how you do that.
Mm-hmm.
What does it look like? What does a negotiation, conversation look like? What does the actual work day look like for someone who does
Mm.
these types of things? And in truth, it's real boring. It's a whole lot of staring
Yeah.
at a screen and answering phones, just like every other job. But there are people who want to know what that looks like. What do these
Yeah.
conversations sound like? I mean, we've all heard the saying, if I could just be a fly on the wall.
Yep.
Well, that's the reason that we put out the type of content that we do, so that they can be that fly on the wall. They get to have that
Fine.
into our lives, to gain that knowledge. So I appreciate what you're doing by putting this out there and having the workshops and teaching and speaking and being motivational, inspirational to those who need it. There's a reason they're out there looking, because they need it.
Yeah. Yeah. And once I learned how to heal and forgive, I was able to realize that my life, when it comes being professional, I'm awesome. I'm on top of it. But I realized I was a social misfit.
Sure, sure. So
Hmm.
what did you do to overcome that? Well, first of all, can you give me an example of how you felt like a misfit? And second of all, what did you do to overcome it, if you have?
Well, one is, that's a work in progress. But what I did was I realized that even though I was great at business, I had to be someone outside of business. And my brother told me, Chena, you're a great professional, but when it comes to your personal, it's just like you're just different. I said, that's because I really don't know how to be social. I didn't understand the social skills. My boundaries was violated. So learning to be a friend and accept friends, those were the kind of things I struggled with. Learning how to decipher, it wasn't everything you think it was, Sheena. So don't react, respond, and listen and respond.
You
That's one of the things I had to do. My brother said, Sheena, don't take down your first face, take down your second face. My face says everything. So sometimes I have to shut it. I have to shut my face. And so what I've learned is how to be quick to listen and slow to speak, and learn to decipher what it is that they're actually trying to convey to me.
Sure, sure. Now, that's an interesting, you said something, or you touched on something very briefly that I hadn't thought of. I hear a lot of stories about, being a victim of those types of crimes. And
Uh-huh.
you hear about the social problems as far as just not being able to intermix
Uh-huh.
with maybe the other sex and whatnot,
Uh-huh.
especially if it's an early age.
Uh-huh.
But you don't
Uh-huh.
think about the possibility of someone growing up and really that human part of them is not there, and it's a
Uh-huh.
facade. Everything is a facade. It is the business world.
Yep.
The personal isn't something that they want to connect with. That's something I hadn't really thought about.
Uh-huh.
Myself, people ask me all the time. They say, "Well, you work all the time. What are you doing for personal?" And my answer always is, "Well, I love what I do. So this is just what I do
Right.
24 hours a day." But in truth, some of it is because there are holes in life, right? That's why we do the things
Right.
we do. I mean, don't get me wrong. If I had 5 or 6 kids running around the house, I probably wouldn't work 24 hours a day. But that's not the case. So you might as well utilize your time the way that you can and be most effective. So yeah, I really I thank you for that just tidbit, because you really only grazed on it, but it really made my mind uh you know think in a different way. The paradigm has started to shift a little. So thank you for that. So I tell you,
Yeah, that's very important. I've learned on once I got control of my personal, I can do my professional and understand how the two mix, don't mix. And then I forgot what it's called, that it starts with a B, where there's a connection for both the personal and the professional. But those social skills are very important, because how you come off, something could trigger you. And I know for me, I would just go off. And so they brought it to my attention. I'm like, you know what? And once I stopped and I started listening, I was like, you know what? I don't think they meant it like that.
sure.
Because what you find yourself doing is you reacted it, and then you react from your reaction, which causes a lot of issues. And now you've made a mountain out of a molehill.
Certainly. So I tell you, can you tell us a little bit of, well, first of all, before we go into your books, because I do want to know about your books, I want to know where they can get them.
Okay.
I want to know a synopsis on each one. But before that, could you tell me a one of those stories that you had to overcome personally, like something that was an issue in your life that you kind of had to deal with that, you finally did find some sort of a victory over?
Well, I'll just say it. And one of the things that I speak about, it's not my fault, but it is my responsibility. I'm going to summarize it like that. It's not my fault that I was molested. It wasn't my fault I was rejected. It wasn't my fault that I was abandoned. It wasn't my fault when people misunderstood me or didn't try to get to know me. But it is my responsibility. It is my responsibility to take what what has happened to me. I call them lemons. I take the lemon, I squeeze it, add some water, add some sugar, and I make some lemonade. And that's why Chronicles of a Favorite Woman has been birthed from that. I want people to understand the power of their voice, to know that you have power and the power is in your story. And once you conquer that, the root of the issue, forgiveness, forgiveness is not for them, it is for you. Forgiveness is for me. It is for me to come out of bondage so I can live, because that's what God designed me to do, to live. I'm not going to be a victim anymore. I'm a victor who's living victorious. And that's how I live my life. And now you have to pay it forward. Now that you've forgiven, forgive yourself. Very important, very hard to do sometimes, but it's necessary. And now that you've done that, now it's time for you to pay it forward. What do you mean by that, Gina? I'll tell you exactly what I mean. That means you need to go back and help those who may be struggling if they want to be helped.
That's beautiful.
I
That
hope
is
that answers the
beautiful.
question.
It does. That is the sentiment that I was looking for. That's a beautiful, beautiful sentiment. So, can you tell us a little
Thank
about
you.
the? Now, you have how many books have you written so far? I know that you're the author of 2 bestsellers on Amazon, but how many do you have out there?
I actually a co-author of 3 books, and
Ooh,
they're all bestsellers.
oh wow!
Um,
Congratulations.
and and I am actually working on my personal project this year. So I'm really looking forward to that. And how it started was I was approached about, people heard my story and I heard that they were doing projects and stuff. And I always said, like, I got a story to tell. I got a
Sure.
story to tell. And so I decided to submit my stories, trust the process, stay out the trash. And what's the other one? I think both of them are trust the process. I can't remember the third. I can't. But they were all anthology projects. I think the one I'm most proud of is Stay Out the Trash. And it was a personal testimony of mine, how I allowed myself to go back to familiar territory because I wasn't comfortable going to unfamiliar territory. But once I did it, because I've learned in order to get the things you've never had, you got to do things you've never done. And that's where I'm at.
100%. 100%. So 3 books, all bestsellers. Now, is that on Amazon or are you on multiple platforms? Where can people find
It
your
is
material?
all the books are found on Amazon. The one of them is 90 Days Biblical Affirmation. And the other one is Imperfectly Fierce and Focus. And please forgive me for not knowing the other one. I really don't remember what it is.
It
But
happened.
if you Google my name is Fouchina Kirkendoll. It is Googleable. I
Sure.
promise you.
Oh, that's right. You were the one and only Fouchina Kirkendoll.
Yes. So it's
Yes.
not as if I can have a crime. It'll be hard to find me. It'll be easy to find me. So I'm gonna live the life of Christ and keep it moving.
Yes, ma'am. Well, I have your links. So tell me a little bit about your background. I mean, professionally and things like that. What is it that you do and how do you help? And before now, I mean, where'd you come from?
Actually, my background is nonprofit. I've always loved to help people and be an advocate of people. When I moved to Georgia, I changed my profession altogether and I went into collections. Believe it or not, I was like, really? But at that time, I became a single mother after 17 years of having my first child. So, and I didn't marry my fiance, thank God. But I knew that I needed to make sure I survived. So I did what I had to do to survive, and I started collections. And when people say you work for collections, I say yes, but it was actually one of the best things that's ever happened to me. I didn't know that what God had in store for me, but it allowed me the opportunity to meet people, come in a negative situation and turn it into a positive, because I'm going to help you as long as you want me to help you. But it gave me the opportunity to spread the word without spreading the word,
Sure.
without forcing it.
And that puts you in a different circle of people too, a different circle of influence, and then you would be at a regular job. There's nothing wrong with collections and finance. I mean, who do you meet in collections of finance? You meet people that are in finance, right? Well, isn't that what you do
I love collections.
Sure. And
I absolutely.
as a nonprofit or someone who works with a nonprofit, the number one goal is fundraising. That's what it is. What's
Yeah,
the capital raise?
that's
How does
right.
that happen, right? How do
That's
we
right.
complete our mission? How do we help our
That's
people?
right.
And the best way to do that is through the connections. Your connections, your contracts, they say. Oh, yes, it's true. Is your net worth? Well, in that business, yes, it is. Yes, it is. The people that you go out and shake hands with, the babies that you kiss,
Yes.
those are the ones that come back and make payday. And when I make payday,
Yeah,
I'm not talking about paying rent and all that. I'm saying that they do what
exactly.
they need to do to further your goal and mission for the organization you're a part of, right? Now,
Exactly.
in turn, we're told by the good Lord that as long as we're out there helping other people, things are going to come back and help us too. So that
Exactly.
it does work that way. And isn't that funny when we talk about sales and marketing? The first thing they always say is, fill the hole, find the need and fill it. Because that's really what you want to do. It's about
That's right.
serving other people. Anytime
Mm-hmm.
you look at a successful company, a successful business, or a successful person, whatever it is that they've done has been something that is in service to other people,
That's
whether it's
right.
by product or whether it's by lifestyle or whether it's by a means of resource. It's about serving and servitude. So, I totally agree and see, where you're coming from and what you do. And I love the coaching aspect of it and the helping people overcome. Now, I've got to ask you, how did you get in the circles just as a regular, John Q. Public that had a story? How did you get in front of organizations to speak?
Well, I've always been speaking in front of people because I worked in nonprofit. So it was my goal to get out there and fundraise. Whatever I advocated for, to radio, TV, I was always doing it.
I
Something I
see.
always been able to do. But as a kid, I always said, all I want to do is help people. And my cousin reminded me of that. She said, Fouchina, you remember we was outside in the country and you said, all I want to do is help people. And she said, look at you now. And it's so on a totally different level now,
Sure.
because now I'm branching out on my own to do my own. And that's been a little teeter-totter for me, but I'm learning how to strictly operate in faith.
Sure.
And
Well,
since I've
that's
been
what you have.
doing, yeah, since I've been doing that, it's really, I've just seen the manifestation of God and what he's done in my life. And do I fall sometimes? Yeah, sometimes I fall and be like this, oh, Lord, I fell again. But the thing is, you don't stay stuck.
Right. Okay, so I tell you, Fouchina, it sounds like you have really you've done it. You went through the trauma, you have overcome it. You're now in adulthood and now helping other people through your writings, through your mentorship, and your everything, all of your works. Really, now IRL meetings. That's amazing. If I could do anything to further your career or help you, what would that be? Number one. Number two, if I could introduce you to two different types of people, who would they be?
It would be okay. What can you do to help me? Two
Sure.
things: pray, pray, and if you see a need or a fit for what I do, the connection, the collaboration, and the connections. That will be the two things that I always say to do. And I don't know what was the last question you said
If I could
or
introduce
asked.
you to two different types of people, who would they be? Like ideally, maybe there's a certain position, a job title that you're looking to meet, or maybe there's just a certain type of audience that you're trying to reach, anything at all. What if there were
I am looking to connect with like-minded people. I'm trying to do events now. So I want to talk to people who are sick and tired of being stuck where they are and ready to go. I want to be able to do workshops. I want to be able to do events. So, someone who's in need, like, who is a group that, have people that's trying to go to that next level, whether it's personally or professionally, because it starts personally first, whether people want to do it or not. But I'm looking for.
Do you already have a team in place for your events and for all the things that you're doing? Are you looking for help in that manner, or do you already have all that dialed in?
Yes, I actually am looking for I'm looking for some assistance, like, getting sponsors, setting up the events, because I'm a one-man show. That's a lot.
Right. Well, that's why I'm asking. That's what I say. If there's two people that I could introduce you to, what types
Yeah,
of
I'm looking
events?
for it will be people who
Event
can help
planner.
me with production. Yeah, event planner and production and an administrator.
Okay. I know that there's people in my circle that fit that description. I could probably do a reach out
Awesome.
and see if anybody's interested in making a phone call with you. I mean, that's the best I could do on that, is see if they would be
Hey,
interested in it.
well, I appreciate it. All they can say is no.
Sure,
But it won't be
sure.
good than that.
That's it. But I do like to find out, what I can do to actually help somebody. If you're going to take the time to come and speak with me, and we're going to create some cool content together, then at least I could do is find out what I can do to further you in advance.
Yes.
So yeah,
Thank you.
well, telling the story is the big thing. That's why we do this. That's why we do this in video podcast format. And in truth, it's not so much about the business. When I say I highlight entrepreneurs and investors,
Oh no, I get what you're saying.
sure,
I
it's
totally
the
got it.
human
I totally
story.
get it.
Yeah, the human story of what
Yeah.
we do. Nobody cares about what businesses I have or do or whatever. They want to know what person I am, and who do they see on the
Mm-hmm.
camera every day. What does that guy do?
Mm-hmm.
Not what does the business
Right.
does. That's irrelevant. So
Right.
so anyway, well,
Right.
I tell you, I thank you very much, for your time
I
and your
thank
interview.
you.
Is there anything in parting that you would like to share? Are there any stories that you, in particular, that you would like to share before we depart?
I want people to understand that you are enough. You are enough. And there are things that's going to happen in our life that are beyond our control. It's not your fault, but it is your responsibility to live. Live.
Thank you for those
That's
words.
it.